Hey there. Before we get into the show, I wanted to let you know we have a very special guest today. Her name is Lindy Royer, and Nora's going to do the full official introduction of her. But I wanted to let you know that Lindy is going to be offering you a 20 to 30-minute vision call. I know that doesn't mean much now. It will when you listen to the episode, but she's going to be giving you free 20 to 30-minute vision call. I highly recommend you taking her up on this offer. Check out the show notes. Her email address is there, and that's where you can get in touch with her. All right. So on with the show. Welcome to Moving Conversations, a podcast for movement professionals by movement professionals. If you coach, train, or teach movement, Pilates, or fitness, then this podcast is for you. With more than 60 years of experience in fitness and Pilates, your hosts, Brian Ritchie and Nora St. John, explore the science of human movement, diving deep into the facts, myths, and common misconceptions, hoping to spark thought and conversation about how we view fitness and movement. Now, let's jump into Moving Conversations. And welcome back to Moving Conversations. I'm Brian Ritchie. Joining me as always is Nora St. John, and we do have a special guest today. We'll get to that in just a minute. How are you doing, Nora?
I'm doing well, Brian. It is Christmas Eve, so I'm wearing official Christmas colors because we're recording this on Christmas Eve. And here in California, it is raining, and I'm hoping it is snowing because all my friends are trying to go skiing next week, and I'm sure Lindy has skiing on her mind. She will be our guest, Lindy Royer, who's a favorite friend of mine and a skier. So we're all hoping for good weather. How are you doing, Brian?
Doing good. Yeah, I just got back from our annual trip to New York City, which was very nice. Me and the family saw some wonderful shows, and it was a little colder than what I would like. Little Hawaii boy here does not do well in the cold, but that's okay. We bundled up and made our way through the city as quickly as we possibly could. Got back to work, and looking forward to the holidays. And last week you and I talked about New Year's and trying to set up a more, not necessarily resolutions, but really a tactical plan on what we want to accomplish, and at least one thing, what we want to accomplish and how we're going to get there. Not just this esoteric, I want to lose weight, I want to get in shape, none of that kind of stuff. So today's session is going to go a little deeper into that, and I can't wait to do that. But before we do, and before we get to our official introduction, please hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Every time you do, it really helps us out a lot. And also like, comment, all of those sorts of things. It all helps. It all helps us get our show and our message out to more and more people. So we really appreciate it. So share, like, comment, all of those goodness. You can see us on Instagram at Moving Convos. You can see under my name on YouTube, Brian Ritchie. And so we'd appreciate that. And if you all ever want to get in touch with us, hit us up on our email. It's movingconvos@gmail.com. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Nora to do our introduction of our special guest today.
Our special guest today is Lindy Royer, who I've known for, 15 years. I think we just figured out quite a while. And I think even a little before that, I remember meeting you at a Body, Mind, Spirit, I think, with Dave, talking about skiing. So Lindy is a physical therapist. She's a balanced body educator. She's a Franklin Method person. And the reason that I have her on the show today is because she works with a system called Inner Matrix Systems, which is sort of a personal mastery, personal growth platform. And I've done a lot of work personally with Lindy, and I've seen her do a lot of work with vision, with how are we creating our vision for our future? And we wanted to just think about this, not in so much the tactful way as we did last time, but really like, what do you want your body to do for you? How do you want movement to support your life? And that's really why I have Lindy on today. So with no further ado, welcome, Lindy.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Brian and Nora. It's fun to be here on Christmas Eve.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your holidays to come and join us. We really appreciate that. When Nora and I were talking about doing this as a concept for the beginning of the year, it was sort of we sort of have a countdown. There's a clock on here. We need to get you in as soon as possible. So we really do appreciate you taking time out to getting on before the New Year so we can have this launch right at the New Year's when people are thinking about resolutions and are thinking about making changes. I mean, Nora and I talked about that in the last episode. It seems like twice a year, everybody hits the reset button, September and January.
Mm-hmm.
And with the body, I think it's really January. I think learning often it's September, and just because it goes back to school and all of that. But with our bodies, it seems to be January that, okay, we're gonna do it this year. I promise I'm gonna actually go to the gym. So yeah, we thought this is a perfect opportunity for us to discuss movement and plans and whatnot. So I'm thrilled you're here.
I'm thrilled to be here. It just occurred to me as you were sharing, Brian, that most of the gyms know that they're going to get the big rush, right? The big rush at New Year, and then by the end of February, they're just back to their usual number of people.
You see the exact same people you saw before that. I've already told my kids, I said, okay, we're going to avoid weekends. We're going to go in the afternoon or the evening. We're going to, for the next 6 weeks, we know what it's going to be like. It's going to be, but it's okay. It'll calm right back down.
It will calm right back down. And there's probably some reasons for that, which I'm sure we'll get into.
So Lindy, tell us a little bit about your work with creating vision in your own life, making changes. I know that you've had a long path towards becoming who you are and gaining the skills you have. So tell us a little bit about how you got here and how that creates your vision for your future.
Mm-hmm. Well, have we got till January 1st?
I know that's kind of a big topic. So highlights are fine.
I'll give you the highlights. So I grew up in Sydney, in Australia. I did my physiotherapy training there. But my very first big vision, I would say, other than when I was 5 thinking I was going to be a dancer, my very first really big vision was that I was going to ski. I was introduced to skiing by my dad in particular when I was about 6 or 7, and I just fell in love with it. And I associated it with the time, now we understand how the wiring in the brain works. It was the time when the family would spend the most time together. My dad traveled a lot. And so 2 weeks out of the year, we would all be together. He didn't go anywhere. We got to have fun together. We did really special things on those ski trips that we didn't do any other time of the year. So as far as my internal wiring is concerned, I wired connection and fun and adventure and being with my family to skiing. And so it was something that I just fell in love with. And so I was about 10, I think, when I declared I was going to, at some point I was going to go be a ski bum. I don't know that I said ski bum in those words, but I was going to ski. And so, my dad being very practical said, well, you have to get a career first, and then go do that. Yeah. And I think his hope was secretly that I would get the career and then I wouldn't go off and do the ski thing. Yeah. But I did. I just held that vision. There was one season and our ski slopes were about 6.5 hours away from Sydney. I skied every weekend. I figured out a way.
That's commitment.
To ski every single weekend, and we'd get back midnight on Sunday, and I'd be back at work. I was in a hospital at the time, working at Sydney Hospital, and
at the hospital, not in the hospital.
Exactly. You might think I should be in the hospital, but But I was super committed to it, and so as I look back on those times, I created vision, and now we understand the mechanics of it. But I created a vision around it. And so, fast forward, I ended up moving to Steamboat Springs here in Colorado and got a job on the mountain as a ski patroller, right? And fulfilled that vision. It actually then combined, I was an EMT, I did all of that stuff. So I got to sort of combine some of my medical training with emergency medicine and skiing, right? It didn't pay very well, but...
We're young. It doesn't matter at that point.
But what you did was very interesting, because I know a physical therapist and a physician who moved to Colorado in order to ski more. They wanted to ski. The problem is so many people got injured. They were so busy during the ski season. They never actually got out to ski. So you actually were able to get out and do what you love.
Exactly. I figured
and not just move there.
Yes, exactly. So I did that. And then in the summertime, I actually managed a fitness facility. So because I was an Aussie PT, I had to, get my license here in Colorado. So for a few years, I didn't, because I was still using my skills in different ways. On the mountain in the wintertime, and then managing, I was an aerobics instructor. So sort of picture, this was during the 80s, right? So just picture the whole Jane Fonda thing. That was happening. The problem with all of that was that I didn't have a vision beyond that. And so
Lindy, though, I'm going to back up a minute, because a couple of things I said I wanted to just really bring into the conversation. And one of them was that first thing you said about skiing, which what you associated skiing with. Right. And when I think about creating a vision, it's like it really can't, it can be like, oh, I just want to, do whatever. But there has to be an emotional component to it. There has to be some passion behind it, some connection to it. Right. Like if somebody can say like, I want to lose weight, or I want to get fit. If that's just like words, like that doesn't get you anywhere. It has to be why. And the why is to your point, very emotional and very emotional. So I just wanted to bring that up as a foundation of what we talk about in terms of creating vision.
Exactly right. Because if it's just dry, right? If it's just a super dry vision, like you said, it's just words. I even wrote it on my board. But if I don't relate to it with that energy of emotion, then I'm not going to do it. And so, so what happened for me was as I look back again, I can see the mechanics at work, but beyond having this vision around skiing, I didn't have one. Right. So I fell into relationships that weren't great for me. I fell into habits that weren't great for me. I fell into avoidance strategies. I did all sorts of things because I didn't have anything really driving me. Yes, I still skied, every season. So I went back to physiotherapy when I married a person that was not my greatest decision in life. And so when we got divorced, that was when I really went back to pursuing physio, and I did that, but I didn't have a vision around that anymore. Right. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I was doing it to make money. Right. I need to support myself. You can't be a ski bum and support yourself very well when you're divorced. And so I sort of fell into decisions that I didn't really plan. It just, it's kind of that thing where you go, oh, it just happened. And so as I started practicing PT here in Colorado, I discovered it was quite different to the way that I had trained. I didn't find it particularly collaborative, and I'd been fortunate to work in a team. Right. Even as a young physio, the orthopedic surgeons would ring us up and say, could you come up and watch this surgery, and let's talk about how we're going to rehab, this person. And it really was team. We did fracture clinic every week with the whole team, and it was just super collaborative. And, my experience was that it was not. So I got super disgruntled, and my coping strategy in those days was to drink more wine. Which was not the best thing for my health. And so, I got married, I had a couple of kids, and, by the time my kids were little, I just felt completely overwhelmed and, didn't know what I was doing with myself. And so I made the decision that probably the first thing I needed to do was to quit drinking. And it was actually when I made that decision for myself that I then reconnected with the idea of creating a vision. Right. Like, okay, you've made this decision. It goes beyond just because you stop drinking alcohol doesn't mean that your life is automatically going to be amazing. So that was when I really started actively pursuing, how do I, what's the life that I want to live? And
it seems like living consciously versus just going through the motions, which, let's face it, how many of us do that on a regular basis? It's just you wake up, you keep doing the same thing you did the day before. Yeah. And before you know it, 10 years has passed and you're really no further towards your passion, your pursuit, your dreams.
Yes.
It's just you're closer to the end.
Yes. And you just feel stuck. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's also interesting is you did have a vision that drove you to a place.
Mm-hmm.
But then at that point, it's like you needed to revise that vision to move
Mm-hmm.
forward from there. Because you came to Colorado, you skied, you did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that took you to a place, but that didn't take you far enough. And then like with many of us, we kind of have a vision that takes us to a certain spot,
Mm-hmm.
and then we kind of end up on that platform and don't go anywhere else for
Yes.
a period of time, right? That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So then it was like, well, how do you create a bigger vision for your life? Not just skiing, which clearly was not fulfilling everything, but how do you create a bigger vision? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Revision.
Yeah. And as soon as there were so many things that happened once I started, and again, a lot of this was accidental, right? Because I didn't know at the time the mechanisms. But I did start to, again, pursue personal development training. And I did lots of different seminars. And as I said, read the books and went to, listen to different people and did a lot of that stuff. I had no clue how to put it together, but certainly certain things were happening, right? Because I did start to imagine, well, what do you want the next 10 years to look like? And well, how do you want to be as a mother? Like I had let my kids down in my mind, right? As in their early years. Fortunately, they're both thriving today. And I have a granddaughter who we get to see this afternoon. Right. So, but I started thinking beyond what do I want to do, and went more to, and again, I wasn't conscious that this was happening, but who do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, who do I want to be? What kind of experiences do I want to have? There's I think about sometimes vision as there's either a pull, right? Like I'm being pulled to something, I'm being drawn to something by inspiration, we could call it. And sometimes the vision is I'm being pushed from what I don't want to be. And so the person that I was, right, and the behaviors and the ways that I was when I was, I was pretty out of control the last, especially the last several months as I think about it. I was one of those fortunate people, that reached a point where I said, this is unacceptable to me, right? I can't keep doing this. I consider myself really fortunate because some people never get there. But that also becomes a push, right? Like I am never going back there, right? And we can do that with our health. We can do that with the body. I'm never going back to that place where I just felt hopeless or helpless or a victim of whatever is happening in my physical body. And we can do that regardless of, the things that are happening, right? Like I've had some adventures with the body, but because of being able to connect to a vision, it helps us move through rehab and it helps us move through those challenging moments, right?
Was there a specific path that sort of popped up that showed that you said, this is the path I need to go on? This is because you said you were reading books, you were, you were taking the journey, but I think like even myself, I feel like I'm heading in a direction, but sometimes it feels like I'm wandering aimlessly. Like there's no pinpointed, this is exactly where I'm going. It's sort of like I'm heading in this general direction. I'm heading west, but I don't know what's west. I know I'm heading this way.
Yeah.
Was there something that sort of helped you hone in on who you wanted to be?
Well, yeah. So I started to mention that this colleague introduced me to inner matrix systems, which is I think of it as the best of the East and the best of the West. That marriage between mindfulness and our internal experience with the external, now how we understand neuroscience and our physiology and how our brain and nervous system work. And it gave me the literally a system. It's like a paint by numbers. Here's what you need to do to train and align and rewire your nervous system. And so from that, I was able to start designing, right, in a way that I never had before. Oh, this is what's important to me. And I would say one of the biggest things that I have learned is it's okay to not know. right? But
Mhm.
when I get lost in the not knowing, now I'm stuck in not vision, right? I can get lost in the, well, I don't really quite know what I want. Like, I don't know about this West idea, right? And then we bump into the Rocky Mountains and go, oh, well, this is a bit of an obstacle. Maybe I'm not
Mhm.
supposed to go west, right? But when we can focus on what we do know, right? When we start to shift to, well, so Brian, for you, there's probably some things that are appealing about going west, right?
Mhm.
And if you focus on those things that are appealing about going west as a metaphor, right? And get your brain to focus on that, then we can make it through the obstacles, right? So for, we've probably got personal examples for all of us. Oh, this must mean that I'm not supposed to do it, right? Like an obstacle pops up. This must mean I'm not supposed to do it. Oh, I had a surgery and now I've got an infection. This means I'm doomed, right? I can
Mhm.
remember going there. I've had, among my few adventures, I've had both hips replaced. And I can remember about a year after my second one going through, again, as I look back on it, it was a very emotional time that was, right. It was not, it wasn't love-based emotions, let's say. I was, there were some challenges in my family, and guess what? My left hip started to hurt a lot.
Mm.
Right. And it felt unstable. And I felt like, and I literally had some episodes where it gave way on me. I'd be I'd shift my weight and I'd be testing it out as we do. Right. And I remember the thought in my head was, oh, this means that it's failed. I'm going to have to, and I had it in, because I've seen the surgery. I was imagining all the terrible catastrophic things that were going to have to happen, right, to this hip. And I got to get a few more years out of this hip. But my mind just automatically went to all the catastrophic things. And it wasn't
Sure.
that, right? But when we're not focused on a vision, those things can really derail us.
Mhm.
And so being able to focus on, oh, but what I do know is here's how I want to be in the body, right? I want to be skiing. We're playing on the floor now, right? My granddaughter's almost 8 months, and we're on the floor the other day, and I picked her up, right? She's probably 20 pounds at this point, and I stood up holding her, right? And I celebrated it.
Nice.
Right? Because I'm going to be fish. I had my kids a little bit older, and her parents had her a little bit older. And I'm thinking, oh, good grief, when she,
she's going to get big fast.
When she
Mhm.
graduates high school, how old am I going to be? Right? The brain's going, well, okay, I know how I want to be for her over the next 20 years in terms of physical health and strength and vibrancy and all of that. Right. And so as we think about vision for the body, we got to put it into what's personal and meaningful for us.
I love that. I love that because that is something that I go through with all of my clients who are older than I am, is the grandchildren. That's a big thing. They want to live longer. They want to have more active or be able to get down on the floor with the grandkids and be able to really be a part of their grandchild's life instead of just the grandparent who's sitting on the rocking chair, who's just, I'll see occasionally, but is not part of their life.
Yeah.
So yeah,
exactly.
that's something I hear on a regular basis.
Yes. And then we have to paint that picture really clearly, right? That's the bit that we miss.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I want to turn our focus to, which is, for all of you guys listening, how do you create that vision for yourself? Because we've talked about a few things. We've talked about it being, the vision has to be meaningful to you. Again, whether it's being able to watch your grandkids grow up, whether it's being able to play tennis better, whether it's being able to whatever, move more easily, doing whatever you're doing in life. Those are important things. And again, don't make them abstract. Don't make them like, I want to be more fit. What does that mean to you? You know, what does it mean to you for your body to work better? Does it
Mhm.
mean you can walk farther, run faster, ski more often,
Mhm.
you know, manage your garden, like whatever it is, really get practical with what those goals are. That helps a lot to clarify what you want to do to get to that vision, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Exactly. And then what does it feel like to be doing those things?
Right.
You know, that's where the imagination and the nervous system marry one another. Because I remember when I created the vision around skiing, I literally would see myself, you know, I originally thought I was going to be a ski instructor in Austria. So I studied German for a while. Right. That was my original thought. But I would imagine, oh, I'm on the slopes and I'm interacting with people and I'm doing these things. And, and we know that from athletes now. Right. One of
Yeah.
my absolute, personal favorites is Michaela Schifrin. Please watch her during the Olympics. Right. She lives not far from where I live. I got to see her ski a couple of weeks ago because there was a World Cup event here. And, I go to things like that to get inspired. I'm watching these women who are the best in the world at what they do. Right. Skiing at a level that is just phenomenal. Right. I'm at a wooden table here. Like the snow is about as hard as this table, like if I tried to ski on it, I'd be just slip sliding. But their level of expertise is inspiring to me. It's not like sometimes I hear people and they say, that's just not attainable. That's, or I'm jealous of that person or whatever it is. No, use it to light you up. Use it to inspire you. Right. And before they do any race, they stand at the top of the race. And what do? Or if you're a diver, or if you're an ice skater, if you're an athlete of any kind, they visualize themselves doing the thing, but it's not, again, it's not dry. They're not just visualize them going through the
feeling it.
They're feeling it in the physical body, right? There's a proprioceptive experience. There's a mental focus there. That's what makes them also so great. So even if we say, I want to be able to garden, okay, what is it about gardening that lights you up? Right? Like, Nora, you were talking about nature in a recent conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like the birds and the sounds and the plants, and that's something that lights you up. So then when you marry that with physical movement, right, that's where the magic is. And I think that's the piece that we often miss when we're planning and strategizing our own, physical vision. We don't go deep enough.
So is this what you were talking about when you mentioned the nervous system? Because that's something that sort of lit me up in thinking about, our nervous system and how important that is in how we feel and how our bodies, move and everything. So is that what you're talking about then? Is that imagination focus is really resetting our nervous system?
Exactly. And that focus, Brian, is so critical because our default focus is often what we don't want. For a reason, right? It's about survival and protection. And, we have this primitive brain and nervous system that hasn't changed a whole lot in the last many thousand years, right? So yes, we're looking out for danger and threat and potential danger and potential threat. And if we've had an injury, right, as we know, if we've had an injury, if we've had something happen to the body, then the brain is going to be a little bit more on alert to make sure that doesn't happen again, right? And so oftentimes then we restrict ourselves or limit ourselves, or we focus on what we don't want, right? Well, I don't want that pain, or I don't want that thing to happen again, right? But then that is what hijacks us and prevents us from really getting the brain to focus on what we do want and where we do want to go. So it's a bit of a fight, flight, rest and digest negotiation. If we think about those two branches of our autonomic nervous system, right? Not to say that either one of them is good or bad, because too much parasympathetic is not great, right? and just the right amount of sympathetic activation is also really important. But if we think about it and make it, very simplistic, we want to, if I'm in fight flight all the time around the physical body, then I'm probably going to be more looking out for what's a threat, right? Whether it's a real threat or not a real threat.
Yeah. What isn't working, what I can't do, what might cause pain, not necessarily what is, but what might, right? Yeah.
Change it. Yeah.
The potential to me. Yeah.
Changing the focus from avoidance of pain to seeking out the passion.
Yes, exactly. And even though we may have pain, right? There might be pain there. There might be discomfort there. Sure. Right. Lots of us have
absolutely
with and through pain. But what can I do with the body right now?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, well, I can breathe. Right? Like I had I'm referring it to as eye arthritis. I had a macular hole that showed up in earlier this year, and it showed, it was sort of one of those, all of a sudden, my left eye was super distorted. I felt like, I was looking through a prism. So I knew something wasn't quite right. I suspected it was the macula. And so I had to have surgery, right? And they repaired it. Well, the upshot of that was I had to lay prone for 3 days. I was allowed a total of 1 hour a day where I could be up. So food, bathroom needs, that was about it, right? And the rest of the time, and there's lots of people, there are probably people in your, in your audience who've had something like that. Happens, there's several eye surgeries where it's required. Okay, well, what can I do? I can lie on my stomach. But if I'm prone, does that mean I have to be completely on my stomach? Oh, I can get into child's pose. Oh, I can actually I straddled my massage table because I got the massage table out. That was my friend. I can straddle the massage table and still have my upper body prone and do some deep hip work. Oh, I can lie prone. I can still do some knee flexion and some hip extension. I found out there were all sorts of things.
Sure.
Right? Prone. Not to say that it wasn't a challenge, but it's that whole thing of, okay, you know what else I can do? I can breathe into my back ribs. I can focus on my posterior diaphragm. Right? There were just all sorts of things that started occurring to me when I brought the focus to, where can I go with this?
Right. What can I do?
Yeah.
And we talked about that a lot, Nora.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that a lot with the body.
Yep. I know Linda and I have talked about it a lot. You and I have talked about it a lot too, Brian, is so often with clients, we all, and this is, speaking to the nervous system, get focused on, oh, well, I can't do that anymore. Oh, well, that may cause me pain. Oh, so many, especially of our pain clients, just get locked in this loop of things that will not serve them, right? I can't do this. I can't do that. This will hurt. This might hurt. This did hurt, and that focus just keeps bringing up the things they can't do, right? And it doesn't even leave room in the mind. And I know, Lynn and I've talked about this, when you're in fight or flight, when you're really in that state of fear and that state of anxiety, you really can't see the other side. And you're just locked in. You're just locked into the negative side of things, or the I can't do things side of things. And so often with clients, I've just said, okay, maybe you can't use your right knee. You just got a massive something going on there. What can you do with your left knee? What can you do with your torso? What can you do with your with your head? What can you do with your shoulders? And we just take the focus off of what you can't do and put it on what you can do. And even just that simple mindset change really helps people to realize, oh, my body does work. I can move forward with things.
Yes. And then when we bring some personal meaning to that, then we can start to get the nervous system to work on our behalf instead of working against us. Yeah.
So thinking about that in terms of vision, like Brian, how would you kind of bring this into creating a vision for the body? What's meaningful to you in terms of that?
Yeah, I was trying to sort of focus on that even in myself. And I think this is with a lot of our clients is they want to change, but they don't know exactly what they want to change yet.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly.
And I think that's really the key to all of this is, again, not wandering aimlessly in a direction, but really knowing what they want to change.
Mhm.
And I think in general, we're focused very much in our society on things like schooling, on our profession, on what we want to accomplish
Mhm.
in that realm.
Mhm.
Whereas I don't think enough focus has ever been really focused on what do we want to do with this shell of ours, with our body, with what we walk around with all day,
Mhm.
how we
Yeah.
want to present ourselves. Yet, as we all know as being instructors, how we present ourselves and how we stand up there, if I change my posture, everybody is going to look at me differently.
Mhm.
So this being that I am has to look a certain way and act a certain way and have certain amount of energy. And I
Mhm.
think for me, energy is probably the big thing that that I'd like to focus on, having more of that. Nora and I talked last week.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get more sleep. That was something I was very, very sleep deprived, and trying to focus on more sleep and trying to focus on my recovery, my rejuvenation.
Mhm.
I think in a lot of aspects of exercise, we focus on the doing
Mhm.
rather than the recovery. It's
Mhm.
about, well, how much did you do today? How much workout did you do this week? You want to have it goes back to that sort of kindergarten. You want to put the stars next to your
Right.
name and the check
Right.
marks. And I
Right.
did all of this
Yeah.
and get my little
Yes.
trophy
Yes.
instead of, okay, I did that. Now, what do I need on top of that for the recovery aspect? And
Mhm.
for me to give myself that gift of, okay, rejuvenation.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's such a
So,
great point, Brian, too. And I'll just because I just would love to kind of
yeah.
follow up on Brian really quick.
Yeah.
Is that all right? Um, when we think about that sense of vitality, energy, vibrancy in the body, then the next step is why? Why
Mhm.
do I want that? Why is that so important to me? Right? Because then that brings it
Mm.
into the nervous system. That's where it might be. Yeah, I want to be able to like play on the floor with my granddaughter this afternoon and then pick her up and have that connection with her and feel that sense of it's really freedom for me, right? Like there's this sense of freedom when I can, or
Mhm.
I put her in the carrier and go hiking up the hill, and we're already at where my son and daughter-in-law live. It's already at 8,000 feet or something, right?
Mm.
So part of it for me is personal, right? I
Mhm.
want to have those experiences with myself, for myself, and with my family. I also do want to be an inspiration to other people that it's possible, right? Like it's possible to shift who you are. It's possible to
Mhm.
go through a variety of interesting surgeries and, as I just call them adventures, right? Adventures in the body. It's possible to be, a healthy, vibrant 70-year-old person or 75 or 80 or whatever it is. So there's sort of those two pieces of it. We can make it personal, and then we can also make it a bit altruistic if we choose to. Yeah. So asking yourself, Brian, when I do this for myself, well, why is that so important? Why is the
Mhm.
recovery important? Why is it important for me to have energy? Well, because I've got stuff to do, right?
Yeah.
It's not how it occurs to me in my head, but this is probably a family show, so I won't say what I actually say, right? Right? But it's like, oh yeah, like I'm not done yet. One of the things that sort of inspires me is literally I don't want to get to whatever age it is where I, go to the next transition, but I don't want to die with any of this music still inside of me.
Mm.
Mhm.
Right? Like I
It's a great
don't,
way to
Yeah.
put it.
and
Yeah.
so that can motivate us, right? Like I want to definitely leave it all out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Al was, we were just traveling in Asia, and you know how, I'm not sure if you've ever been in Asia, but there's always all kinds of crazy T-shirts with funny sayings that may or may not actually be English, but it's always very entertaining. And Al was walking around, and there was a woman who had actually a tattoo kind of right underneath her collarbone. So of course she's trying to kind of look at her collarbone and not, I don't know, it was a little awkward moment, but what she had was, it said, live a life worth remembering.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of love that. It's like give meaning to your own life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Figure out what's important to you and then really pursue that. And I find for many clients, that's a question they can't answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think of how many people I've kind of asked, just simply like, well, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? And that kind of I get the stare, the
Yes.
kind of dog looking at you like, what?
Yeah.
And I think certainly in terms of the body, it really does take, to Brian's point, where I want to go. And then to your point, how am I going to get there? And then really, why do I want to get there? So those pieces, I think, are all, and particularly the why, are so important, because they will inform everything else and inspire you to stick with it and to really, really achieve what you want to achieve.
Yes, exactly. And in our profession, so much of it, as you said, Brian, is how do I look?
How many?
Right?
How do you look? And what have I done? Have I done the checklist? Did I do the things?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I did the checklist. So, right? Like, for some people, maybe the checklist does get them where they want to go. But a lot of times now they still feel like they've got the hole to fill. Right? Like I did the checklist and I still don't feel the way I want to feel. So yeah, exactly, Nora. It is finding that. So, we use that term, the meaning in the movement, right? What's the meaning in the movement? We can use movement as any sort of metaphor we want, but why am I doing this? Right? Because sure, there are days when, I don't necessarily want to do my mobility practice or my other practices.
For sure.
Right?
Always have those days of really,
Oh, yeah.
do this again. Yeah.
Right? However, if we've got a really clear, strong, meaningful vision that isn't necessarily how I look in the mirror, but who I want to be and what I want to experience in the body, that's going to take me through those days where I have a case of, as I call them, the I don't wannas, right? Because that's what we need, is that thing that's important for us, that's pulling us toward, where we're going. Because of course we're all going to wake up, on those days and go, oh, I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night, or this other thing's happening. I don't really wanna, right? But if we have a strong vision for ourselves, and it really is, it's that internal experience first, not so much the how I look in the mirror. Right?
I had a woman literally come to me a couple hours ago on our assessment, and I always want to go over their goals. What are their goals? I tell them what my goal is to get them to the thing, and it's usually very specific, but I want to know their goals. And normally it is very unfocused.
Yeah. I want to be
general.
out of pain. I want to be out of pain. I want to lose weight.
Right.
Something. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not specific. But she said something that was really interesting. Is she's had a laundry list of things that have happened over the last 18 months. And she's in her mid-60s. So, and literally surgery after surgery. And she said, I used to feel fit and as though I could do things. And I don't feel that way anymore. So I want to feel stronger and that I can accomplish things again. And that was a really, no one's ever said it like that to me before. It's always, again, I want to get in shape. That was very specific on how she wants to feel.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to hone in on with our sessions. How does she feel?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because so many times people say it's pain-free. I want to be stronger. I want to be more flexible.
Yeah.
And the way these little, computers up here works, right? Even if you think about, Nora and I teach this when we do our pain education workshop. Okay, describe to me, paint me the picture of pain-free. Just paint the picture. Here's some crayons. Paint me the picture.
Good luck on that.
You can't. Right? So if we're trying to leverage this computer, right? it's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Right? There's
The absence of something is just the absence of
there's
something.
nowhere for us to go, or even strength.
Right.
Okay, that can look so many different ways. There are certain levels of strength that I want nothing to do with. Right? There are certain aspects of strength that, I can paint a picture of, and probably you guys could too, but many of our clients can't.
Right.
Even when they say strength. Okay, so our next question for ourselves is, what kind of strength?
Where? What does that mean?
What does that mean? Again,
how would you use it?
Here are your crayons. Paint that picture for yourself of what you mean by strength, because otherwise, as practitioners, where we can get really off kilter with our clients, with our patients, is they say strength. Well, I'm going to come up with my idea.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
What does it mean to me?
And we've never had that conversation about what that means to them. Right? Or what flexibility means to them. Right?
So much this conversation, and Brian, I've had many conversations with a lot of people, but what I love about this is really bringing the nervous system in, Brian, in ways that we've kind of talked around a little bit. Certainly. And this I just think is really interesting, like getting specific with the brain, with the imagination, with the nervous system about where you want to go, how you want to get there, what your priorities are. This is really useful to me to really get into that.
I was just thinking that when we work with a client or even with ourselves, getting more specific and getting more specific and getting more, that can really be important, because you have to dig down those levels. Like you said, in strength, if I focus on what I consider strength on your body, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. We're different people. We have different needs. I'm male, you're female. There's so many differences between us. And it's the same way with every person that we work with. And so we do need to unpeel those layers and go deeper and try and figure out, what does it mean to you? And I think for a lot of our clients and for everybody in general, we need to do that. Go deeper. What is your vision? And then, okay, now fine tune it. Almost like if you've ever used binoculars, you put up the first one and you can see a certain level, then you got to fine tune and focus. And finally you can see clearly what you're looking for.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing, is most people don't have a clear vision themselves on what they're looking for.
Agreed.
And it may be us that helps them out. It may be family. It may be someone else that asks them that question. But I think we should definitely be part of the conversation with them on trying to get down to that deeper level.
Exactly. And the other thing it opens us up to as practitioners is, if we really fully understand what they're looking for, sometimes it may also lead to the conversation of what's realistic for them.
Absolutely.
And what isn't, because if we don't know that they have some, somewhat unrealistic goal, right, that we haven't even talked to each other about, right? That's also, as practitioners, where we can have some challenges with our clients, because we don't even realize that they're making an assumption about their therapy or their movement sessions. We don't even know that, and we haven't talked about it. Now we can get ourselves in some sticky situations. So it opens us up to also, making plans that are taking them toward what they want, but also making sure that we're keeping them on track of what maybe isn't quite possible for them. Right?
Expectations.
Yeah,
I bring that up all the time with my children, especially with my kids. It's like, okay, if you have unreasonable or unrealistic expectations, you're never going to see them. And if you have too high of expectations, you're always going to be disappointed. And how many times do we get that with clients when they want to drop out? And part of the reason could be that you haven't met those expectations because they were unrealistic. And sometimes it's our job. And I know Nora's done it. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. When a client has said, I want to do this, and you're like, no, I'm sorry. I don't have a magic wand. This is a dumbbell, not a magic wand. I'm sorry. I can't just make it happen.
Yeah. Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
you know, and rephrasing that and getting them to change the picture, not erase the picture, but modify it to more realistic expectations can be very valuable.
And then again, in terms of vision, helping them paint that picture of what it's going to mean for them when they get there, when they fulfill it.
One of the things that I want to just reframe this a little bit for our listeners out there is this isn't theoretical, guys. This isn't about somebody else. This isn't about your clients, or I should say, it isn't just about your clients. This is also about you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we talked a little bit about in our last session, us as practitioners often don't do the work that we're asking our clients to do. You know, we don't create that vision for our own bodies. We don't create that. And one of the things Brian and I have talked about is kind of stating some of our visions out there and then doing little check-ins every month with each other and with the audience, to just say, like, what is your vision? And I think for all of you out there, I would challenge you to just take some time. What's meaningful to you in terms of what you want your body to do? Once you've clarified that, and that can take a while. This may not be like, oh yeah, I already know. Then how do you want to get there? Is it a strength thing? Is it a mobility thing? Is it an endurance thing? What particular areas do you want to work on? Just again, I think working on some of that ourselves helps us to hone the skills to work on it with our clients as well. Kind of goes back and forth that way.
Yes, exactly. Because there's always that level of authenticity.
Right.
If I'm not doing it for myself, then, you know, even though the client might not know it consciously, but there's that level of disconnect if I'm not in an experience similar to what I'm asking them to do. And I remember that was something, you know, early on in, you know, when I had opened our studio, and, you know, small business owners out there will be able to relate, as you guys can. My movement practice definitely suffered for a while. And I remember just thinking, oh, I'm a complete fraud. You know, that was right. It was, you know, as soon as I realized that, I did something about it. I thought, okay, this has to be a priority for me, because I'm just showing up and being completely inauthentic because I'm asking my patients, my clients, to do something that I'm not doing. Sure. So I think that's such an important point, Nora, is, you know, we are the best teachers when we are being taught.
Yeah, I mean, I know every time I go into particularly a new physical practice, like, oh, the things that I learn, because, you know, I remember when I started doing Coraline, right? I've been doing Pilates for 20 odd years at that point, and it kind of managed myself well within the Pilates environment. Then suddenly I'm standing up on the Coraline, which is, you know, there's two moving carts, and I'm upright, and I was like, oh, I thought I'd managed that. Things get illuminated when you do something new. That's like, okay, no, I had managed that in that environment, but I hadn't actually taken it farther, right? It got to a certain point, but it didn't go to that next step. And that's always such a good learning opportunity for all of us.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also important for us to push ourselves beyond what we currently are doing, our normal.
Right. So easy to go, this is my program.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, growth, you mean, Brian?
Yeah, so you know that silly thing, growth. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that growth thing. Oh, yeah, yeah. And I think, you know, as I speaking from, you know, I'm a senior. There are a lot of people that reach a certain age, whatever that is for them. I've had 50-year-olds tell me that they're old. I've had 30-year-olds tell me that they're old. I've also had 85-year-olds tell me, well, what's next? Right. I have a client that I still see periodically. She plays in an orchestra. You know, she's super vibrant, you know, and she comes in and says, right, I want to be able to walk this far. I want to be able to do this. Or I did this last week. What can we do, you know, this month? I see her usually once a month. Right. So it's also that piece of it of, oh, yeah, it's possible for us. We're plastic. Right. We don't reach. I mean, yes, it can be a little bit more challenging in certain ways. But the more we keep pushing out of our comfort zone, right, the more we are actually creating, you know, more chemicals, more actual plasticity in the brain. The brain becomes accustomed to growth.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I think about a relative of mine who basically she was I think 7, 8, or 9, and she said to me, and it was interesting. She said, all of my relatives, like almost all of her parents and most of her aunts and uncles, they'd all been dead by the time they were 80. She's like, I'm not really sure why I'm still here. And it was interesting because it was like in her mind, she would be done by 80. Like she'd set that deadline for her life. And it was kind of interesting because she kind of then made that happen, which I won't go into that, but it was just interesting. Our belief system is incredibly powerful, whether it says, I can keep improving, I can keep growing, I can at least, do the things I want to do, or I can't. Like just that simple choice in the brain of I can keep moving forward or I can not move forward. Just that simple choice makes such a difference.
Yes.
For so many clients that I see and people that I see in my life too.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
And that comes all the way back around to talking about vision. When you can visualize what you can do, rather than looking at, if you're a 70-year-old and you see people out there playing pickleball and saying, oh, that looks like fun, but I can't do that. Well, guess what? You can't.
That's
but
right.
But if you thought, you know what? I had a client literally just last month retired and has signed up. He said, so I'm signing up for a pickleball league. I'm going to play these days of the week. And I'm like, okay, slow down, cool your jets a little bit. Okay. I'm thrilled that you're excited about this, but let's take it easy and prepare you for what you want to plan to do, so we can get you there.
Yeah.
But he had that mindset of, this is what I want to do now.
Yes.
And I loved seeing that rather than, like you
so
said,
much easier to work with.
Yeah. Rather than the person that's just like, oh, no, I'm a certain age now. So now I have to move less and walk slower and not do this. It's like, heck no.
Yes.
Come on.
Exactly.
So,
the ER, right? Oh, no, this will never work.
That's right.
Exactly.
It's complete ER. But that's what's great about having little kids around. I mean, I have been loving the heck out of watching my granddaughter's movement development.
Yeah.
Right. And just and for what I'm going to just copy everything she does.
I love it.
You're going to go through developmental stages.
I am. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right now we're doing rocking on hands and knees.
Love it. Love it.
We're taking bets on when she'll start crawling and when we've got a completely childproof.
Right.
It's super cool to just remind ourselves of what is possible. I can't quite do the sitting complete forward fold thing, right? Because she's
right. She's got no bones yet.
She's got no bones. So yeah, speaking of plastic, she's very plastic. But it's really cool to just watch human movement from that perspective.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And it is that's vision too of that's in my nervous system somewhere. Just because I can't necessarily do all of those movements exactly like she is, I can get my nervous system to focus on that and see myself doing those movements. And there's a lot of joy in it.
And Brian's got 2 teenage boys. Right. So he's been able to watch them develop right through that, gain their strength and gain their awareness in their body. Same thing, right, Brian? I don't know if it's the same thing.
100%. And my problem is I try and keep up with them. So when we go to the gym, I'm the one trying to, because I can outdo them in endurance because I've got that, in spades. I got that. But sometimes when they're pushing heavier weights, the young man in me is like, I can do that. And the smarter man in me is like, are you out of your mind? You want to do what? It's like, okay, no, I'm going to change this. I'm going to just do more reps. I'm okay with this.
Yeah. But
it does challenge me though.
Yes, we can take the pieces from those kinds of experiences that resonate for us. Right. Rather than focusing again on, I can never do that on the ER part, right? Which is they're just going to create 2 completely different outcomes. And
100%. Focusing on the possibility rather than the limitations.
Exactly. And then just getting very clear about what it is that I want to create for myself. And as Nora said, why is that important to me?
Love it.
Yeah.
So wrapping up, honestly, I've loved this conversation. I feel like there's so many little tips and pointers and ways to have conversations with ourselves, have conversations with our clients, dig a little bit deeper to really get to, our visions, to help them get to their vision, and then help us to be able to help them along, help ourselves along, right? Get to where we want to go. If you know where you want to go, you can get there easier. If you don't really know where you want to go, then you probably aren't going to get there. You'll get somewhere, but you may not get where you really want to go because you don't know where that is. So I just have really enjoyed this. So many tools, so many ways to think.
Absolutely. And but all of us are teachers. We all know the person in a class who raised their hand and says, I've got a client who, and you know for a fact they're asking about themselves. Well, guess what? This is the time that we are talking about you. 100%. This is all about you, the listener. Trying to figure out, what do you want? Let's focus on that before you focus on your clients all the time. Focus on you too, because you are just as important. If you don't focus on you, you don't have anything you can give to them.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindy. We say this to a lot of our guests. I don't know if you've noticed this, Nora, but we do say this a lot, that we'd love to have you come back and dive a little bit deeper in the, down, because it seems like we love these rabbit holes that we can go down deeper and deeper and deeper into, but then we are limited on time. So we'd love to have you back. I think that would be fabulous to, just delve a little bit more fully into this.
I'd love to come back. And I'm with you, Brian. I love nerding out in a good rabbit hole.
Exactly. We should get ourselves ears, Brian. We should get like those bunny ears for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. And thank you guys for listening. It's been an honor to speak with you and to go into depth as we did today, and to focus. I know Nora and I both are focusing on our own journeys, and this is just an additional way for us to get a little more clarity and to realize the importance of that clarity. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And thank you for listening. As always, hit us up on our socials. Instagram is the one we're most often on. So if you want to DM us there, you can. Moving Convos at Instagram, or you can always reach out to us directly through movingconvos@gmail.com. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Lindy, for joining us. And until next week, we'll see you then.
Bye, guys.